Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack complex topics with you, really getting to the heart of what matters from a whole stack of sources. Today, we're diving into something called valuation planning. Now, it might sound a bit niche, but honestly, for mid-market companies, it's potentially game-changing. Our mission really is to get inside this article, 5 reasons mid-market companies have the most to gain from valuation planning. We want to give you the shortcut, understand why this strategy, which frankly gets overlooked a lot, is so incredibly powerful, maybe even essential.
Yeah, and the basic idea here is really interesting. Most of these mid-market companies, they're sitting in a perfect spot to unlock a ton of value, but, and this is the kicker, they often skip that crucial first step. Proper valuation planning. Doesn't matter if you're aiming for a big sale down the road or you just want to build a stronger, more impactful business right now. Taking control of your valuation proactively today, it's honestly one of the smartest things you can do.
Okay, let's dig into that. Starting with the first reason from the article. And for me, this one was a bit of an eye-opener. It really highlights how much potential is just, well, sitting there. Reason number one, most mid-market companies just haven't done it. Seriously, think about that. There's data from the National Center for the Middle Market. It shows something like 60%, 60%, haven't had a formal valuation in the last 3 years. That's not just, a missed trick. It's almost like flying blind, isn't it? Most are operating without knowing what they're actually worth, let alone having a plan to boost that value.
It's a huge blind spot, a really critical one, and that's exactly where valuation planning comes in. It gives you clarity. It helps owners see, okay, here's what we're worth now, but also, and this is powerful,
Mm.
here's what the business could be worth if we hit like best-in-class performance. And knowing that difference, it just unlocks really focused, targeted decisions. You stop guessing, you start moving with actual intent. It's like finding a map for a treasure hunt you didn't even realize you were on.
Yeah, and that nails a point from another source, the Business Owner's Guide to Maximize Business Valuation. It says something like, the difference between your current value and the best in-class value represents your opportunity to grow value.
Yeah.
It makes it really concrete, doesn't it? It's not just a number. It's basically a signpost saying, focus here for maximum impact.
Precisely, which brings us straight to the second reason. There's often a massive gap, a huge delta between the current value and that potential best-in-class value, especially for these mid-market firms. And this delta, this difference, it's so significant for them because, well, they usually have the basics already sorted. They've got the infrastructure, the customers, decent leadership. They're not starting from absolute zero.
So the potential isn't just theoretical, it's very real. If they deliberately go after higher valuations, maybe by, say, boosting their EBITDA margins or really focusing on intangible value.
What sort of things do you mean by intangible value?
Good question. Things like a really strong brand reputation, maybe some proprietary tech, or just super loyal customers, stuff that adds massive value but isn't always obvious on the balance sheet. If they focus on those things, they can genuinely double, maybe even quadruple their company's worth. And sometimes in just a few years, it's not just small steps. It can be exponential.
Oh, absolutely. There are some pretty compelling examples out there. The Business Owner's Guide talks about a hypothetical but realistic case.
Mhm.
A company doing $20 million in revenue. If they strategically improve their EBITDA, get their operations really humming, and manage to command a higher valuation multiple, well, they could potentially jump from, say, a $5.6 million valuation to over $24 million in maybe 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really shows the power, doesn't it? The power of planning your valuation work with intention. It turns that potential into actual tangible wealth.
Okay, and the next reason really leans into what makes these mid-market companies so unique. Reason 3, they've got this blend of agility plus resources. It creates almost perfect conditions for transformation. They really do sit in this kind of strategic sweet spot, don't they?
They absolutely do. Think about it. They're generally big enough to actually afford important investments. Investing in better people, new tech, improving systems, things smaller companies might really struggle with. But, and this is key, they're usually still small enough, nimble enough to make decisions pretty quickly. They can implement changes without getting totally bogged down in that corporate bureaucracy, the red tape you see in huge organizations.
That responsiveness is huge.
It is. It makes them incredibly adaptable.
And does that specific combination make them particularly good at using those 4 value creation engines the article mentions? What exactly are those?
Right. So think of these engines as the core levers you pull inside the business. They don't just push up revenue, they actually improve the quality and the reliability of your earnings. That makes the whole business fundamentally more valuable to a potential buyer. The four are revenue growth, obviously important. Then process optimization, making things run smoother, more efficiently. Culture development, building a strong, engaged team. And strategic innovation, finding new ways to create value. Each one of these doesn't just help you grow, it directly boosts your EBITDA and the multiples someone would be willing to pay for your business. It's about building a fundamentally stronger, more resilient company. Now, focusing on growth and getting better is crucial, obviously, but we also have to think about the unexpected stuff. Life happens, right? Which brings us neatly to reason number four, and it's a bit sobering. That vulnerability to unplanned exits. There's a statistic from the Exit Planning Institute. It suggests over half, more than 50% of business exits are actually unplanned. They get triggered by sudden life events, often called the 4Ds: death, disability, divorce, or disagreement among partners.
Wow, over half. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So what's the big mistake owners make when one of those needs hits unexpectedly? And how does this planning help avoid that? Because the article's right, the consequence is often brutal. You're forced to sell under pressure, usually taking a massive haircut on the price. It sounds like a really precarious position to be in.
It really is, and the single biggest mistake. It's simply not having the business ready to sell at any given time. When a crisis hits, owners are often just scrambling. Maybe the financials aren't tidy, the processes aren't documented, perhaps there isn't a strong management team that can run things without them. Having done the valuation planning work proactively means that even if the timing is terrible, even if it's completely unexpected, your company looks good.
Yeah.
It's attractive, it's organized, it's ready for someone else to potentially take over. That readiness, that attractiveness, it dramatically increases your leverage with buyers. Those are key factors in getting a premium price. You're prepared, you're in control, even when things feel chaotic.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that brings us to the fifth and final reason. And this one feels like it zooms out a bit, looking beyond just a transaction. It's about how valuation planning enables long-term freedom and legacy for the owner. It's not just about prepping for a sale someday. It's maybe more about building a business that works for the owner instead of the owner constantly having to work in it day in, day out.
Exactly. And the benefits here for the owner personally, they're pretty profound, actually. You start to get real freedom. Freedom to spend less time buried in the daily grind, maybe more time thinking strategically on the business. It gives you options, genuine options. Maybe you do want to sell eventually. Maybe you want to pass it on to family or management. Maybe you want to scale it even bigger. Planning gives you that choice. And ultimately, it's about legacy, isn't it? Leaving behind something sustainable, something that keeps making an impact even after you've stepped back. It's really about building value that serves your life goals, whatever they might be.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's that quote again from the Business Owner's Guide that just sums it up so well. The ultimate goal of every business owner should be to maximize value, not just profit. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, what's the big takeaway for you listening in if you're a mid-market business owner? I guess it's that you don't have to just accept small incremental gains. There's this huge potential, often just sitting there waiting to be unlocked.
That's exactly it. If you get proactive with a valuation plan, you're not just tweaking things around the edges. You can genuinely unlock some serious, sometimes exponential growth. You really can build a company that gives you more personal freedom, creates way more strategic options for the future, and ultimately has a bigger lasting impact.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to maybe mull over. What if you shifted your main focus? Moved it away from just chasing the next quarter's profit and instead really prioritize long-term valuation planning? How might that single shift fundamentally change the entire trajectory of your business? And maybe just as importantly, how might it change your own personal freedom?